another exchange called Gemini, which is a widely used one. And they take 2 or 3 days to verify your identity before you're allowed to buy cryptocurrency. This time last year, Cameron, you may not have gone through any confirmation before.
Oh, I did.
Yeah, even
Yeah,
back
but
in April,
it's getting more rigorous.
getting more rigorous, right? A year from now, it'll probably even be more rigorous. You're seeing even some now brokers for Bitcoins where they used to take as little as $1,000 worth. They're up to like 50 or 100,000. So it's getting harder. Timing is perfect for everybody that's here, and we're gonna make a lot of money this year. So I see that Reggie has arrived.
Hey, everyone. An update to the slides. So.
You want to use the other laptop? Leo, do you have the other, the HP?
We got some appetizers in a moment. Sorry.
Phil, what you got? What you doing, Phil? I guess you got it. Hey, Phil, you might want to. I guess you know what? I just put it in the pocket, Phil. Alright. So how's everybody doing today? Pretty good? I know the news is kind of giving me a lot of advertising in the press over the last few years, right? Yeah. I see a few of my followers, you guys, songs are getting here. I haven't seen some of these people in a long time.
Sarver didn't start as a meeting.
All right, so now, for those of you that don't know each other a little later. All right. So, you guys are now, I know that you guys have been, by show of hands, who here has crypto already? If you already are holding some coins, excellent, all right, good, good. And for those of you that are kind of apprehensive, as maybe the media probably kept you out, or maybe you just don't know how to get it, per se, right? We'll go ahead and kind of debunk some of the myths, and I'm going to start from the basics. Obviously, a lot of people don't really know what crypto is, so we're going to start from the beginning, from Satoshi Nakamoto when he actually first created Bitcoin, and where we are today.
Oh, if anyone has to use the bathroom, it's just right out in the store. Right here is the bathroom.
All right, perfect. Let me just hit the Yes. All right, got Bitcoin. So for those of you who don't know who I am, I've been investing for years. I mean, I remember when I used to ask my mother, to buy Nike shoes, she would tell me to go invest in Nike stock. Instead of a Sony Walkman, I had to get Sony stock. So I learned very early on the importance of investing and allowing my money to work for me. I went in to school initially, and I wanted to major in finance. I wanted to work for a hedge fund and be initially a stockbroker. I watched the movie Wall Street. Anybody watch the movie Wall Street? It's my favorite movie. I love the second one, Money Never Sleeps. Watching that movie, I got wind of Gordon Gekko. And initially I wanted to be a stockbroker, but I found out that, you know, the David Teppers and George Soroses of the world, they're the ones that actually make the big bank. But before Wall Street, I wanted to play basketball. And I would remember I'd be out there diligently, you know, stay in the backyard. And I would play for hours. I'd have some shares outside. Unfortunately, you can see why I didn't make it to the league. About 5'7", 125 pounds soaking wet. So my mother sat me down around 11th grade, and I was still on the freshman team. Okay. Now, in high school, only freshmen can play on the freshman team. Okay, I was in the 11th grade. My mother sat me down. She said, maybe it's time to redirect your focus because the NBA probably isn't going to work. Now, I looked at her like a naysayer. So for a good month, she really was trying to convince me, and it was Wall Street, you know, that basically got me to kind of listen. She told me, she said, there are people that own the team. You like Michael Jordan, you like Magic Johnson, but someone has to cut their check. I said, okay, go ahead, you know, speak up. I'm listening. So then she says, someone owns the team, someone owns the league. And if you do like Master P did, you can probably own the team and no one can tell you you can't play. So that kind of piqued my interest in investments and you know, Wall Street. So initially going to school, I had to drop out because I had my son at an early age, but I continued, you know, my passion for numbers. I opened up my hedge fund in 2012, which is Rose Gold Investments. We specialize in Forex, currency, okay, and then now we talk about cryptocurrency. So one of my specialties has always been exchange rates, understanding conversion rates and price ratios, and what the manipulation is as far as the economy and the government, what's going on today, so to speak, as far as all of this quantitative easing. Raise your hand if you've heard of quantitative easing and know what quantitative easing is. How many of you know that quantitative easing is a slow way of stealing your wealth? It's actually one of the greatest scams that we've ever seen perpetuated when you talk about is this a Ponzi scheme or that or the third. So we'll go deep. But enough about me. They didn't want me on Wall Street. I was too young. Went quick enough, didn't live on the East Coast. Over here, we don't have any exchanges or big hedge funds. So I had to go in and get a job. Okay, started working for banks, but I still continued to dream of trading. And eventually, through perseverance, I started to see a little bit of profit. I've been training traders for about 7 years now. Raise your hand if you were one of my students that I've been training in trading. I've got a few of them here now, and they're some of them are making profit. A lot of them have their assets structured and secured, mainly preparing for what's coming, because next year is going to be a shift in paradigm. So, disclosures. I've got different designations as a commodity trading advisor. I operate a commodity pool operation. We actually just opened up the blockchain investment group. It's going to be big. The acronym is actually BIG, B-I-G. It will focus on crypto assets, but I'm not really here to talk about any advice or financial advice. I'm going to talk about some things that have changed my life and my family's lives with some of my clients, and hopefully it will change yours. And unfortunately, there's two sides of this I guess, the fence. You have the U.S. monetary system, and then you have the decentralized nature of cryptocurrency, and this is kind of where things are going, all right? So we'll talk about this wave, but everything here is going to be pretty much coming from Block Traders Corner, all right? This is a new firm that I've actually developed that will be coming out with trading education. Everything is copywritten. We'll be going over a lot of stuff, but this here, let's give it the spotlight. Bitcoin. You've been hearing a lot about it in the press, right? What's all the hype? Aaron, it's been around for about a decade now, right? Yeah. Why all the hype now? What's your name?
Cameron.
Cameron, why all the hype this past week?
Well, I'd say there's a couple of reasons. The obvious reason is that the price keeps going up.
Okay.
That generates a
The
lot.
price
That generates
exploding,
a lot of
right?
interest.
Right? Obviously, you must have knew what the next slide was gonna be. Look at you. Prices jumping $1,000 a day in some instances. But why has it been exploding as recently? Well, there has been a lot of noise and chatter, and we've been seeing the market explode not just in Bitcoin but other cryptocurrencies as well. Who's familiar with Litecoin? Litecoin is another cryptocurrency. It's a little bit more advanced than Bitcoin in terms of its protocol. As far as processing transactions, it's a little bit quicker. But Litecoin jumped about, I think about 75%. It's now at 100% explosion in the last day or so. That means it went from about, it was about 105, Mike?
It was 60 right before Thanksgiving.
Yeah, and then now 105, earlier, like on the 9th, in the last couple of days, we've seen, not the 9th, the 11th, last couple of days we've seen this thing explode to above 300. Now, you could literally go on CoinMarketCap and find the coins that are in the top 10 and just spread some of your portfolio on some of the top 10 coins, and you'll see that just over time they've been exploding. You can look at the past hour, the past week, the past day, and you can see some of the movement. But what this means to you and your portfolio, when you see these numbers increasing, this is money coming from the U.S. monetary system going into crypto, the blockchain. Okay? It wasn't just Litecoin. You had Ripple explode. Okay? Meme as well. Look at these numbers, you guys. Dash Coin went up 21%. This is just one day. Okay? Now, in the last month or so, we've seen Bitcoin jump about, what, 100%? It went from almost about, what, 10,000 to about 19,000, right? Raise your hand if in your lifetime, in 1 month, you've seen your purchasing power in your dollar double. I figured as much. I done shifted all the way over to holding crypto now, and it's paying out big, ain't it, Mama? She go. Paying out big, ain't it? Look in the wallet, and you see that it's actually more in there than it was. Ever looked in the bank account, you went to sleep, had no passive income coming in that bank account, but it's just more in there? If it was probably a mistake, and all of a sudden the bank will correct it pretty soon. You better spend it fast before they take it. These days they want to let you take your own cash. Yep, Bitcoin up, everything else down. I was watching the news the other day, and it was funny. I had to grab some popcorn. I mean, it was almost like a plea. You know, like when you see the people outside, the homeless people with the signs and stuff, please help us, hungry, feed us, right? They got all these little signs up, Bitcoin's a fraud. The CEO up there talking about why the stock is tanking and how things are all right. There's good, optimism in the future. While Bitcoin's, you see it behind the analyst, right? He's up there talking, and behind his head, you see the just shooting up in the air like a rocket. Right? They can't ignore it. It's been exploding. What you've also been seeing is you've been seeing the exchanges, like one of the most popular exchanges is actually the worst one to buy Bitcoin at because of the spread and the markup, but Coinbase. Everybody was rushing to Coinbase. And what happened to its servers? It crashed. So where are you at trying to buy Bitcoin? You're stuck because you don't know any other resources. Another reason that you've seen Ethereum and Litecoin, we'll talk about these altcoins a little later, you've seen them explode is because these two currencies are the only two other currencies that you have access to buy at Coinbase. And most people, they see Bitcoin as what? Too expensive. How many of you here are aware that you can buy a portion of a Bitcoin? Right? For those of you that weren't aware, you can buy a fractional share of a Bitcoin. For those of you like how so, $1 can be broken up in what? 100 pieces. A Bitcoin can be broken up into 9 different digits. They start to get into millibits, so to speak. So, all the hype. What is all the hype? Well, there's actually something that really, really, truly led to the hype. Bitcoin futures. Anybody heard about Bitcoin futures? Okay. I'm going to tell you my thoughts on Bitcoin futures. Okay. It's safe to say I know a little bit about futures, right, Christine? Right, Melody? Okay. Now, Bitcoin futures has now shown that institutional money is flowing into Bitcoin. And now that institutional money is flowing into Bitcoin, what are the investors willing to do now? Go ahead and test the waters, right? Put their money into Bitcoin. Because the big banks are now putting their money into Bitcoin. Now, if you're familiar with futures, most of them are derivatives. Unless you're taking delivery of a physical delivery like oil, pork bellies, or wheat or corn or something like that, it's typically cash settled. Now the futures contract over at the CBOE, they have it at a 5 Bitcoin limit with a 3-to-1 margin. That's 33%. Who here can afford to put up or is willing to put up 33% of 5 Bitcoins? Just to get in on the end. You almost raised your hand. I saw you. That was close, but he said, wait, 33%? Nah, let me scratch the eyebrow. That's how I was. I sat there scratching my eyebrow. I'm like, this doesn't make sense. Now, I like Forex because Forex has no standardized contracts. You can break it down to nanos. And when you're talking about a decentralized peer-to-peer market where Melody's buying when I'm selling, name again, Cameron's selling and I'm buying from Cameron as he's giving the bid or the offer, etc. It's peer-to-peer. There is no third party that's intervening to be able to manipulate the price or mark up the fees, etc. So in this market, we can care less if you want 1 Bitcoin, a fraction of a Bitcoin. It doesn't matter. All in all of it provides what? Liquidity to the market. But when your vested interest is in charging fees and having you trade big so that you can lose what, Cameron? Big? They want you to have a minimum size of 5 Bitcoins. Now, it's cool in 2013, right? 5 Bitcoins. Let it ride. But today, 5 Bitcoins is what? A lot of money, ain't it, Christine? Christine's over there smiling. She's holding multiple of them, aren't you? She said, let the Bitcoin rise. I feel the same way. So Bitcoin futures trading brings crypto to the mainstream. But what happened? It was going good. Bitcoin was rising. It was rising and rising. And then it hit the circuit breaker. Imagine you're on a roller coaster. It's going up. Chicka. You're excited. You got your hands in the air. All of a sudden, you're at the top of the apex and it just stops. The heck? I done paid my fare. What's going on? Guess what we did at Rose Gold Investments at Block Traders Corner? 488% being on the first day. I put that on Facebook too. It didn't happen. A selfie with my face. Why? Why was I able to do this? Because they didn't have any circuit breakers. There was no limit moves. My broker is a contract broker, not a market maker. He has no vested interest in manipulating the market or limiting my ability to make money in the market. I'm long Bitcoin. I'm able to trade with leverage at 100 times the leverage, 100 to 1. That means only a 1% margin. Now that's very risky. I wouldn't recommend that you leverage up. You go 10 to 1, maybe at times 3 to 1 when Bitcoin gets very volatile. But I don't have to put up as much money to be able to control and hold the Bitcoin. As a result, I think we made like 1.5 Bitcoins that day alone. And I'm long Bitcoin. If I'm long Bitcoin, I'm right, I get paid. And I get paid in what? Bitcoin. This is Bitcoin settled. So why did the futures market, with all of the people coming in saying that they're going to short, the shorters are going to come in and they're going to correct this thing, they're going to slow it down. And what happened? Continue to pop. Why? Because it's a derivative. It's a side bet. They're not physically going in and buying Bitcoin. When you put money in an account at the CBOE, you're putting cash in the account. And if you're right, it is cash settled. And then you get that check and you're like, oh man, now I got to go to Coinbase and buy Bitcoin. And then I got to wait 5 days for it to get to my account so I can actually put it on my offline cold wallet. Ah, a cold wallet. What is a cold wallet? You're all looking in the refrigerator. Confusing, isn't it? So knowledge of cryptocurrencies remains limited. Who here knows enough about Bitcoin to just hop in and be comfortable? Most of us don't really fully understand. But a lot of you use some kind of locomotive to get here today, right? plane, train, whatever it may be. Unless you're a mechanic, do you know how the things work under the hood? Do you care? No. You get in that thing and it works. It gets you to point A to point B. How about the cell phone? A lot of you have cell phones, right? Most of you probably got the X, don't you? The iPhone 8, line, still line for it. Did you know how it works inside to be able to take the thing and put the finger on it and hey, on? You know how to use it. You don't know how it works internally, but it helps you in your what? Your everyday lives. It improves your quality of life. This is what Bitcoin does. This is what blockchain has allowed us to do. It's allowing us to transfer value electronically, instantaneously, without a third-party intervention or intervener. Very low fees, and it allows me to do it privately. So don't be afraid or alarmed that you don't know too much about Bitcoin, because most of you, just like you use the internet, you don't know what goes on behind the internet, but you know how to get online and take advantage. So what is Bitcoin? Well, Bitcoin has been referred to as a reserve currency for cryptos because a majority of these altcoins, they do so by using the Bitcoin as a proxy. It's almost like the US dollar when we had the petrodollar, where you could only buy oil from the OPEC nations by converting your currency to US dollars. Well, because there's so much regulation, most of these companies that come out with these ICOs, we'll talk about it a little later, they don't want to deal with the US regulation or the regulation in China. So they say, we won't take you on. We won't take US dollars. We'll only take Bitcoin. We'll only take Ethereum. A lot of these coins are the proxy that allows you to come in and be able to convert something that has liquidity and demand. If you know people want to buy Bitcoins, or Cucamonga Koran, or Dogecoin, or whatever the coin is, it doesn't matter which one, right, Cameron? As long as there's what? Good liquidity, good demand, the thing isn't falling, so to speak. So a lot of these coins, the biggest thing is case use. Why would I want to hold it? What's the demand behind it that would get people to want to get in and buy it? Hell, a lot of this stuff, it just needs to be alive, Cameron. Just there, on the list, because these people want to what? They want to invest in crypto now, right? So you have to be very careful, because there's a big distinction between Bitcoin and accepting Bitcoin and having something be on a blockchain. And we'll talk about blockchain in a second. I don't want to get ahead of myself, okay? But Bitcoin's both a digital currency and an open payment network. So let's stop here. Imagine PayPal making the PayPal coin. PayPal's a payment network, but there was never a PayPal coin. Now, they probably might come out with a PayPal coin. Now that everything's coming, you got all these nations coming out with coins these days, right? But if PayPal would have came out with the PayPal coin and there was demand for it, and we were able to use it as a medium of exchange because retail stores allow you to be able to spend, and with the PayPal coin would be, with PayPal system, exactly equivalent to what Bitcoin and blockchain is. Good analogy? We have the US dollar, right? That's America's money, right? What's your name? I got bad eyes. Dean. It's America's money, right? The European dollar is Europe's money, right? Yuan, China, Bitcoin, internet. Huh? Bitcoin's the internet's money. Or better referred to as the people's money. Yeah. It's community banking. It puts banking in our hands. Does that make sense? Where it deserves to be. Blockchain or Bitcoin can't go in and say, hey, I'm going to freeze that bank account. And because you didn't pay that person over there, I will be taking your shillings. Or US dollars or whatever they're calling them. Blockchain only gives you the ability to be able to store things on a public distributed ledger. So the goal of blockchain is to enable people to break free from the walled gardens of the financial networks, i.e. credit cards, banks, PayPal, and other institutions with all their fees, delays, etc. So I'm not going to go too deep into how the blockchain works as far as the inner workings when we speak on the different proof of stake or proof of work, different nodes and mining and all that stuff. The easiest explanation I can give is when you guys first got the cell phone, it was probably a little tricky, right? Maybe figuring out how to send a text message initially. I want you to think of how you send a text message. You got to put the what? The phone number inside the little 2 thing, right? And then you send a little message in the box saying whatever you want to say. Well, sending money with blockchain is exactly that way. Except you put the QR code in the 2, and then the message would be how much you want to send in Bitcoin, or you can put it in US dollars, and you can put a little message that says, from your son with love. You can tell I probably do that a lot. How a Bitcoin transaction works, you can take a picture if you want. I'm not going to go too deep into it. Obviously, at the end of the presentation, you can come back on these and take a picture. But you get a wallet key, okay? And the wallet key is either an online hot wallet or an offline cold wallet. So I'm able to take this thing and save it in my safe. The actual key, if I lose it, I'm in trouble. You ever heard of the stories of people losing their Bitcoin key code, their password? When Bitcoin was worth about 10 cents, you probably didn't care about that little passcode. Maybe it was sitting in a drawer with all the receipts that were supposed to go to the CPA. Now you can't find it. So how does blockchain function like the internet? Well, payment systems are where the email was in the early 80s. The payment systems today, very outdated. So if a customer wants to use a different system, they can't easily interact with each other. But Bitcoin is designed to connect with different payment systems. I had a scenario where I was trading in the futures. I lifted my liquidation price, which is lifting my stop loss. And in this market, when I brace my stop loss, I get my margin back. Immediately when I got that margin back, I was able to take it and send it over to an ICO. Immediately. I didn't have to call up any broker. I didn't have to do any special form. Each one of these different systems and platforms use the same programs. It's all Bitcoin. I went to go get my car out the shop the other day. I was ticked off. I had to go stand in line at the bank. Can you believe that? I had to stand in line at the bank. I went and I forgot to get the little slip. Ding, is it? I had to get out of line and go get the slip and fill out the slip. I'm not in here that often. Come on, please. I'm holding my money. They had to ask me a bunch of questions and stuff. I had the nerve to ask me to go outside so they can call my phone. I said, what is this? I go through less stuff to get my son out the hospital. So, obviously, the way that these banks are operating, they're blocking our ability to get our money, mainly because they understand the way that the market's going, the liquidity is leaving the market. Operating with blockchain, I don't have to go through all of this rigmarole and all the red tape to get access to my money. Anybody had trouble getting your money out the bank recently? A large sum? They start asking you a lot of questions. What are you going to use it for? Who's it going to? Right?
Every time you do a wire transfer.
I thought it was my money.
Yeah. What are you going to use it for?
Aren't you paying the interest to hold my money? I'm doing you a favor. You're asking me. Then they tell you we don't have it. Come back tomorrow. We got to get it. Why do you have this window up? What are you protecting? They're protecting themselves because when you get in there and realize there ain't no money in the bank, then you'll come with your shotgun. So, with the discovery of blockchain, the market anticipates the possibility of seeing these big companies losing control of the flow of money the way they lost control of the flow of information when the internet came out. Okay? And when you combine the two, it's almost biblical. I don't need to get too deep into that. But let's talk about what blockchain really is. It's decentralized. Okay? That means there is no one central hub. When you centralize something, it is no good. Imagine if we were all the heads of the UN, or the Bilderbergs, or just some kind of delegates around the world, and our enemies wanted to attack us. Would it be wise to just let the press know that we're all sitting here so they can come drop a bomb right here and just take us all out? No, they would spread it around, right? Because in order to take us out, you have to do what? You got to hit each different what? Cell. So the way blockchain is there's servers all around the world. In order for you to go in and hack blockchain, you have to hack all the servers at one time. There is no one central control. I laughed about that fork. I was laughing because I'm like, look, what if there are all of us that have shares in the Bitcoin and 2 of us pass on? The other 2 lose our key code. That means there are 4 people that can't what? Actively vote So that means for those people that can't put their vote in, it's a what? A deadlock. Then there's people that don't even know what to do. So they have all the consensus, and then what do they come out? They come out with these altcoins. It's all just hype to get you to go into these other coins. Bitcoin's already done. It's like a virus that's been released. You can only make it better. You can't come in and say, we're going to split this one, and now it's the new coin. Those of you that had 1,000+ coins, we're going to give you half or double the. Now no one has what? Any faith in it anymore. No one has that say-so. It's decentralized. It's non-government. That's why they don't like it. Blockchain technology is peer-to-peer. Open source, which means it can be made and improved, which makes it safe and secure. So Bitcoin is becoming referred to as the new gold. Now you know I'm ring gold, so I'm not going to let that slide. We're talking about my gold like that. Why? Gold is tangible. Huh? I can hold it. What happens if my internet gets cut off?
You still got it?
Where's my Bitcoins at? You're over here clicking the screen, kicking it. Come back, Satoshi. He's not going to help you. That's why he disappeared off on an island with his gold. Gold has actual intrinsic value, and you can take physical delivery of it. There is no counterparty risk unless you get your own grid to pop up an internet. Please believe it's coming with blockchain now. They're able to take the monopoly away from the powers that be and put it in people's hands. But unless you have your own internet, and China and Russia are creating their own internet. But unless you have your own internet, there's nothing you can do if the grid goes down. All that propaganda about regulation, all they have to do is hit the switch. Think about that, right? The power, who gives us power? Who gives us the internet, the antennas, so to speak? So obviously a lot of this stuff has been designed a certain way, but it's gotten so big that they can't control it. Why? All this quantitative easing. That's why you see Bear Stearns, Lehman Brothers, they collapsed due to margin calls because it was just too big for them to be able to meet their own margin calls. Now you got people in Latin America, the wealthy, using Bitcoin as a safe haven, a new safe haven to combat hyperinflation. Venezuela, they're using Bitcoin instead of their currency out there because the government is corrupt. So Bitcoin actually has value. It is not a tulip. So stop calling it a tulip. Okay? I can use Bitcoin as a medium of exchange. Tulips, if no one wants them, I'm just stuck with some dead flowers. That makes sense? I hope it gets back down near to zero, Cameron.
Yeah, I'd love for it to go down.
Woo! Boy, you can see me for a while. I'd be hitting F5, buy, F5, buy.
Is that what F5 is?
You gotta make sure to refresh your screen.
No, refresh.
Brazil defaults hit record in May as corporate woes linger. Venezuela defaults rise, with billions of debt coming due soon. China defaults start to escalate on a corporate level and a government level.